Hello and a very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rajan Pereira. And since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please do participate by going through the description in the Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and contribute. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. So do continue to show your love and support. All the information along with some more must-see recommendations are in the description of this video. So please go through it. Now on to the discussion. The Reserve Bank of India recently warned about a possible stock market bubble in its annual report for FY21. The central bank's comment comes on the back of domestic stock markets touching record highs, even as the country's economy continues to face disruption due to the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Anyone who has followed the domestic stock market over the past few months will know that the bourses have been performing impressively, ignoring economic disruptions during the second wave. Though a brief period of uncertainty was seen during the initial period of the second wave, benchmark indices S&P BSE Sensex and NSE Nifty 50 have again started surging. The stock market performance is a stark contrast to real economic growth, which has suffered due to the localized lockdowns imposed by most states during the second wave. Many economic indicators have also taken a big knock during the second wave, though the situation is not as bad as the first. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze the stock markets and India's economy. Joining me on the program today are Nilesh Shah, Managing Director, Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company Limited; Jayant Das Gupta, former Secretary, Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister of India and former Ambassador of India at the WTO; and Shubhoy Bhattacharjee, Consulting Editor of the Business Standard. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Mr. Das Gupta, let me start the program with you first. Let's talk about the latest GDP numbers and, what is the story that they tell us? What do you read into it?
The latest GDP numbers, I don't think are unexpected. Minus 7.3% contraction in 2020-2021, which was to be expected because I think it only started looking up from the third quarter onwards. And the fourth quarter was reasonably good till the second wave overtook us. So the basic problem is going to be 2021-22, the current year, because we have already lost, for all practical purposes, the first quarter, and the growth has been, I think, would have dipped again very substantially. So we have to see whether we can make up for that and sort of stabilize in the next 3 quarters. And it all depends on the way the virus behaves and the way our vaccination proceeds and so on and so forth. So, and the other factor is that there is this dampening of the sentiment because people are now really, in the first wave, there was always this hope that there was a vaccine just around the corner. And by about October, November, news came from the US and from UK that the vaccine was going to get introduced very soon. Now we have the vaccine, we are ramping up production, but we still don't know whether there would be new variants to which the vaccine may not really be able to effectively prevent infection. So this kind of uncertainty, and then, of course, the behavioral aspect of investment, that also takes place. So this is a worrying factor. And I think the worry can only go away if we vaccinate and we manage to bring down the infections. Already they are down to about 1.5 lakhs per day. And in cases like Mumbai and Delhi, they have come down to very small figures now compared to what they were in April. So whether we are able to keep them at this level for the next, let's say, 8 months or the end of the financial year, that is what is extremely important.
Absolutely. Mr. Shah, let me bring you into the picture now, and let's talk about this particular aspect that Jain Das Gupta has raised about dampening of sentiments. The sentiments of the stock market don't seem to be dampened at all. The RBI too has spoken about it. The economy is not doing very well, but the stock markets continue to soar. What's your assessment of that?
In a very one line, stock market is ignoring 3 to 6 months of pain for a 5 to 10 years of gain. Will this optimism be rewarded? Well, one needs to see that in actual ground turf. Let me just try to figure out what stock market is discounting. Many people argue that they are unaware of what's happening in the economy. That's not the case. Stock market is collective wisdom of people, and they all see what others are seeing. But today, stock market is discounting that with vaccination, we will be able to normalize economic activity. The corporate profitability had bounced back significantly post-June lockdown. The June 20 NSE 500 companies profit was about 32,000 crore. In September, that became 2,10,000 crore, 1,70,000 crore. In December, it became 2,10,000 crore. And in March, while all the companies' results haven't come out, the number is expected to be around 2,30,000 crore. So something similar market is expecting. June 21 quarterly profit will be impacted by lockdown, but hopefully September and December and March will be just like the previous year. Now, this requires many positive assumptions to be executed in real life, in actual life. But that is how markets behave. They build a hypothesis. If that hypothesis works out, markets will rise. If that hypothesis fails, markets will correct.
Absolutely. So what about a bubble that the RBI is talking about? Is that really the case? Your thoughts on that?
If I look at market cap to GDP ratio, which is what Warren Buffett used for valuing markets valuation, our 15-year average market cap to GDP ratio is roughly about 80%. Today, we are at 112%. Now, 112 over 80, anyone will call it a bubble. But unfortunately or fortunately, what has happened that the global market cap to GDP ratio is now 132%. Against 130 to 112 doesn't look that expensive. So, as I mentioned before, if you are looking at next 3-6 months, undoubtedly market will look expensive. If you're taking a 5-year, 10-year view, then probably market doesn't look that expensive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shubham, just building on this point and taking it forward, is there something that the markets see or the investors see that we can't?
Well, first of all, we reported yesterday, and I would agree with what Nilesh is saying, it's a profitability, the corporate profitability scorecard has improved, and that is what has driven the markets. So definitely the market would look at that. What we want and what we are asking for is a one-to-one correlation that if there's pain in the rest of the economy in lots of spheres, then that pain should come to look at, should be reflected in the markets. Well, if the corporate profitability is rising and it's actually now 2.60% of the GDP, which was a level that we last reached in 2015, then obviously there's reason why the markets should be buoyant. So, there's definitely no reason why, and profitability is what is giving gains for the shareholders. So they are looking at it in that terms, and whether if you call that being unfair or being profiting at misery, that's a different thing, because definitely the companies are raising their profitability by cost cutting, because top line sales haven't really risen much. So essentially there is a cost cutting happening. But then that is how companies are doing, and so that's how the markets are responding to it. I wouldn't say the market's behavior is terribly off kilter. Also, if you look at sectors like the export-oriented sectors, those sectors are actually seeing a very huge sharp pickup. India's exports are booming quite substantially. And if you look at the global commodity prices, companies other than FMCG, the commodity companies are actually looking very impressive globally. That is also rubbing off on the Indian companies. So overall, that these are the segments which are essentially doing rather well. Segments which will do probably, I mean, we would see a problem in, for instance, banking. But banking, you won't see the NPA problem now because banking, this sector's results are reflective of what's happened earlier. To see the pain in the banking sector, you'll have to wait for 2 quarters. So after 2 quarters, when the figures come out for the banking sector, then you'll be seeing the result of what has happened now. So that is the time for measuring that what's happening in the financial sector. So that's how the markets usually go. And I'm sure at that time you'd see correction in the markets for for the financial sector.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Dasgupta, let me bring you back into the picture. Now, talking about segments and talking about sectors, what are the sectors and segments that we need to keep an eye out for? And where do you think the maximum fluctuation is going to be going forward?
The biggest worry about the real economy is about unemployment. And it is about the MSME. It is about the services sector. If you look at the services sector, retail trade, for instance, and the hotel business and travel and tourism, these account for a sizable chunk of the services sector. Now, all these are the major employers in India, and these have been very badly hit. And in many states, of course, the lockdown is still on. And it is, these will be towards the tail end of the lifting of the lockdown that restrictions will be eased. So, and in the case of manufacturing, we are seeing small baby steps being taken, especially for the smaller companies and in the MSME sector, because the supply chain has been hit very badly. Transportation has been hit and the supply chain is off kilter. So this is one of the major worries, because ultimately, if the services sector, including its major components, they are not doing well, if the MSME sector as a whole is lagging behind, and as Shubhama has pointed out, we'll have to wait for 2 quarters before we see the results of banking. But the forbearance that the banking sector, because of the government's intervention, has exercised, NPAs is just one factor. But the moratorium on loan repayment, the restrictions on starting insolvency proceedings. In the case of the developed economies, US, for instance, we see a lot more insolvency cases now getting filed. So after this lockdown is lifted, and presumably when we get back to something near normal, we will see the effects of all these things on the real economy. And that will really, have a bearing on even the stock market. As Mr. Shah has pointed out, and I agree with him, that the companies are doing well. The companies, but if you look at the share of the companies in the GDP, agriculture is about 17.7%. Then you look at the larger companies, you keep them aside. You look at the services sector, it has construction, for instance, is 7.5% or about 8%. Now, construction activity has taken a big hit, and it also provides a lot of employment. So all these things will have to be taken into account when we get into, let's say, the third quarter or the last quarter of this year. And the predictions were that we would have a 10% growth over 2021, which would have been, in the negative region in any case. But with minus 7.3, and with the first quarter gone and the second quarter slightly uncertain, maybe if the government's predictions about vaccinating the entire population by the third quarter comes true, we would have come out of the woods. So whether we gain by 10% or we go up only by another 5 or 7%, that needs to be seen. So there is going to be a contraction, there is going to be unemployment, there is going to be less purchasing power in the hands of the people. All this is definitely going to have a bearing on the share market also.
Absolutely. Mr. Shah, coming back to you now, I were two aspects that I want to take forward with you. Firstly, of course, where is the investment in the stock market coming from? Is it Indian investors? Is it coming from outside? What is the case as far as the big companies are concerned? Are they in a better position than, say, your stockbrokers and some of these smaller traders, because they've gone to the court as well, to the Delhi High Court, suggesting that the rules right now need to be changed, and they've been appealing to SEBI too. So how would you look at these two aspects?
So today, from a flow point of view, we are seeing investments coming from retail individuals, HNIs, domestic mutual funds, insurance companies, as well as foreign institutional investors. To some extent, work from home has pushed record demat account opening and very, very high participation by retail and HNI investors in stock market. And more importantly, last 1.5 years has been virtually a steadily rising market. Everyone made money and hence they are becoming more confident. What is interesting is that in India, there is virtual dominance of foreign portfolio investors in venture capital unlisted market. And our public market, whatever amount they raise, 4 times more money is raised in the private market, majority financed by the foreign portfolio investors. And if you think current valuation of stock market is a bubble, you need to go and look at what is the valuation in the unlisted space. Higher the loss, better the valuation. So again, how investors value unlisted company is something of a conundrum to listed market investors like us. In terms of our market, when I started my career, there was an official word called company circle buying. And Somu will probably remember, in those days, there used to be Vandho, Patawat, Badla, Garo, all are official parts of the lexicon. I mean, you as an investor was comfortable selling at the lowest price of the day and buying at the highest price of the day. And that difference was treated as Garo. You were comfortable when exchanges were shut down for settlement. Compared to those days where we have reached, it's an incredible journey. There is always room for improvement. But I think today, in terms of volume, our exchanges are one of the highest. In terms of number of companies listed, we are one of the highest. In terms of daily volume and participation by retail investors, we are one of the highest. And it's an amazing achievement when we see retail investors trading future options. Many of them are probably not understanding what they are doing, but many of them know exactly what they are doing. So we have a fair market. One area where we have a lot of room to improvement is relating to insider trading. Even today, our insider trading rules and regulations are not stringent on execution level. Like, for example, globally, regulator has authority to wiretap conversation. In India, we have not given that empowerment to SEBI. Now, without that, how will SEBI prove that this is an insider trading? Circumstantial evidences are not accepted. So there is a room to improve insider trading regulation implementation on ground. And overall, I think our markets are fairly efficient. Retail, HNI, domestic, foreign, all investors are coming together over here.
Absolutely. I must agree that I must accept I'm one of those people who don't know anything about the stock market. I tried to fiddle and I did open a demat account and it went nowhere. I made a loss of, I think, 10 or 12,000 and I said, this is not for me. And I stopped looking at that demat account and stopped looking at the stock market completely. I hope others have better luck. But Subhabai, coming back to you now, looking at the bigger picture going forward, where do you see all this headed? And, the other panelists have also spoken about how we are going to see some kind of a correction sometime soon. Is that going to happen in the near future, or do you think that's going to take some time?
Frank, on correction on anything, I'll go by what Nilesh would think. I've always followed his commentaries very carefully. So but I take a very major point that he's making, and I think Jayant will also agree. And I know he believes in that. And essentially, this time, last year, Government of India, taking a slightly macro picture, as you said, went in for a series of reform measures as means to come out of COVID. Or rather, they took the COVID as an initiative, as a trigger to do it. This year, I think the government at the center and at the states would do well to agree that there is a very important thing that we are not doing, which is that relying on markets. We are talking about markets, and I think India needs to depend more on price signals. No one more so than the MSME sector. Government last year, and I wrote an article, so I put my head on the chopping block, had given out a massive emergency credit guarantee facility. It didn't work. Why didn't it work? Because there is only 14% of the MSMEs took that help. The 55 million MSMEs of the 64 million MSMEs did not need that help or couldn't take that help. But are they really massively needing that? No. Estimates by MSME Foundation and lots of others show that the total support that the MSME sector needs is not more than 60,000 crore. That's peanuts. Because most of these micro enterprises need roughly about 25,000 rupees a head. What is it essentially, and how can many of this money be brought into them? If the government operationalizes a system which the government itself had announced, which is the TREDS mechanism. It is the bill discounting system for MSMEs. So that means, roughly putting it simply, that if an MSME today raises a bill on the company, that bill should be available as a market instrument to be traded. It essentially, what it does is it allows the company to get at a discount some amount of cash and get along with life. The system is there, the TREDS facility is there are exchanges which are ready to do it, but the problem is, and there are big companies like Axis Banks and others, they've all decided that yes, it's a good thing and we should get into it. But there isn't a major push coming. Just as we did with the stock markets in the 90s during a crisis, to push the stock market into the demat and lots of other things. Nilesh was talking about how the Badla, the markets and all those things, we removed them by making it a smart market. Similarly, we need to bring in the MSMEs in billing systems onto a market-led principle. It is the only way, and it is the best way to ensure that India's largest engine for employment creation, other than agriculture, gets going. There is no way that any government can think of giving out cash doles. It will not work. You have to operate through a mechanism, and that mechanism is the pricing mechanism. These are the sort of stuff that we need this time to really push very. And only then will we be coming out of the problem that we are in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, time to get closing comments now from my panelists with the best way forward. Starting first with you, Mr. Dasgupta.
The first point is that I don't think there would be a very sharp and large correction in the stock market. And I think it would be a gradual thing. It could perhaps be a kind of a gentle decline, if at all. That is the first point. The second point is that this disconnect, and of course, Nilesh is the expert on this, but I think once the monetary policy in the West, especially the US, is tightened up. Inflation rates are low, bank rates are near zero, etc. Once that gets tightened up, the FPI flows, which have propped up a large part of the increase in the share prices in India, that is likely to go. And if that goes, and then we find that a large number of these smaller enterprises are no longer in the field, they have shut shop, etc., there is going to be a kind of a social and economic repercussion on the economy. So we have to be prepared for that, and I fully take the point that Shubhamay has made. Giving out doles will not help. We have to go through a structure and a mechanism to effectively help the smaller enterprises. So that is of the essence. And the last point is that those who have lost their jobs and are not likely to get back their jobs in the near term, they need food, for instance. They need other kinds of support. And I think the government has been talking about it in the recent past, about providing another kind of a stimulus in the coming days to help them out over a period of a few months at least.
Absolutely. Nilesha?
So, as Sumo mentioned, this is time to do the reforms. And I think there are only two reforms required. One, we need rule of law. And he mentioned on the MSME enterprises, I will take it forward in a different manner. You know, we have a law which says that if your check bounces after doing 1, 2, 3, the bouncer will go into jail. Now there are 40 lakh cases, and we have found 40 lakh excuses not to implement that law. Drafting of law or passing of law is not sufficient. It has to work on the ground. If there is rule of law, then investments will come, then investors will come, and then growth will happen. The second thing is respect for entrepreneurship. Somewhere as a society, we are not respecting job creators, we are not respecting entrepreneurs. A street vendor has to pay hafta, an entrepreneur has to fight inspectors and compliance and regulations. But if he wants to do business, he's getting constrained. I was on one of the seminar where someone mentioned that when I want to set up a business in US, I require 5 approvals. For the same business in India, I require 50 approvals. I think this was related to hotel or tourism or travel. Now, 5 versus 50, I mean, please give respect to entrepreneurs because they are taking risks, they are creating jobs, they are creating growth. So if we bring rule of law on ground, executable, workable, and respect for entrepreneurship, a lot of other things which we are doing will then create a superlative growth or accelerated growth.
Absolutely. And Shubhamay, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Well, both of these are superb comments, and I thoroughly endorse those. Today, for instance, there's a report that Wipro Industries has been penalized or is about to be penalized by Tamil Nadu government for non-COVID protocol and all these things. Now, these are just ways to harass entrepreneurs. We need governments not to be able to get into these areas. Where a company which is providing jobs, a labor union taking them to court saying that you didn't do COVID appropriate behavior. So these are the sort of stuff that we need to get out of. The basic point is that last year we faced the same calamity. This year the numbers are higher. We don't need to do too many new things. Whatever we are doing, let's get them done better. That is what we would need to come out of the problem that we are in now. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. So what's coming out of the discussion is that there is no doubt that the economy is going through a rough phase. Unemployment, MSMEs, and the hospitality sector are a big cause for concern. However, the stock markets are on a trajectory of their own. There will be a correction at some point, but it won't be a sharp one, but a gradual correction. The investment is coming from all quarters, which is a positive sign. There are a couple of regulatory issues, if fixed, will only make investments smoother and help the economy in the long run. Rather than new policies, we should implement the existing ones well, which suit the present needs. Well, once again, thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please do participate by going through the Big Picture description in the Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and contribute. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. So do continue to show your love and support because I need it now more so than ever. All the information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of this video. So please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.